Good morning, everyone. I see people are jumping on. Hi, Doris. How are you? Thank you for being here. And Vesta. I love my regulars. I look forward to all of you every Thursday morning. So good to have you here. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for being here. So how is everyone doing? Hi, Linda. Thank you for watching. It is humid and muggy in Toledo this morning. Oh, Doris says she beat Vesta. Hi, Jeanette. Hey, Jean. Jean and Tony, I'm going to talk about you guys today. Yes, Kathy, you finally made it. I'm so happy. Hi, Joanne. All right. Oh, so you're in Pennsylvania right now. How close are you to home? Didn't seem like it took you that long to get to me. Hi, Holly. Good morning. Okay, speaking of Jean and Tony, hey, Janelle, they did an epic girls trip. Started last week. Tony just retired. Congratulations, Tony. And they mapped out this trip. They went and saw Karen Titus. They saw Rachel Tessman. You girls will have to help me out on the other ones because I can't remember them. They're new to me. But they went and saw Holly. But they mapped out this trip from Pennsylvania, New York, all the way to Minnesota, Iowa, and they'll be getting home today. Last Wednesday, hey Sharon, they stopped to see me. So in the afternoon, we did a card together. I took them to Tony Paco's restaurant here in Toledo. If anyone is familiar with the old MASH TV series, Jamie Farr is from Toledo, and if you watch previous, the old episodes, he talks about the old Birmingham neighborhood. He talks about Tony Paco's. So I took him to this restaurant, and the thing about Tony Paco's is all the famous people who have ever been there, they autograph a hot dog bun. Now, it's not an actual hot dog bun because they wouldn't hold up in these display cases for decades and decades. But they sign a hot dog bun, and it gets encased in like a cover, and they're displayed all over the restaurant. And there's a lot of MASH memorabilia there also. So we went there, and we had strudel with ice cream and whipped cream. I mean, they hit the gift shop, and they were having so much fun. So they brought me some gifts, and we're going to go right into show and tell now. I want to show you this bag that Jean sewed up. And I was so excited right away. I started calling out the little shorebirds that are on it. This side is upside down, so I'm just going to open it up. But can you see the sanderlings, the little shorebirds? Is this not adorable? So this little bag, the top rolls down. It has a little cuff on it. And I can store so many cute little things in my little, trying to get the lighting right. My little bag here. It's got my shorebirds on it. I love it. And some little gifts, like I got some real honey. Is this from New York or Pennsylvania, girls? Look at this cute little box. Trying to get the angle. Maybe this light needs adjusted down a little bit. But here's this cute little box, and inside, look at this. pure maple honey. Look at the container that is in. Is that not awesome? And then carrying through to their little thank you notes and envelopes. Jean made her little envelope out of this Bird Designer Series paper, the Bird Ballads. These are swallowtail kites that are on there. And then Tony, look at this cute little card. Little 3x3 thank you cards. But look at that. Isn't that pretty? So the thought that they carried through, knowing what I like and stuff, meant the world to me. And I also got some, a bottle of marinade that's really famous on the East Coast. Is it Spidle? I meant to go downstairs and pull it out of the kitchen cupboard and forgot. But this marinade is supposed to be excellent, so we cannot wait to try that. So they're on their way home. I'm going to let them share how their trip was, but I was so excited that they wanted to stop and see me for a few hours. Other happy mail that I got, this is really clever. This came from Doris. And she actually, I'm not sure if this was a box, but it's rather heavy. But she repurposed a great graphic from another source. And she even ran this through her subtle embossing folder. But isn't this the neatest card? And what a way, what a way to repurpose something that's got a great graphic on it. Front page of a catalog. Oh my goodness. And then look, some owls, some stamped owls for me. She had some other goodies in the envelope. It was such a really, really neat surprise. Thank you, Doris. And then I have yet to meet Nancy Young. But Nancy, this came from Inman, South Carolina. And this is, I don't know if this is a current set. I mean, I know the Designer Series paper and stuff is. But definitely a stamp that I would overlook. And now I think I need to have it because I see the possibilities that can be made with this. But is that not cute? The jar. I mean, there's so many things I overlook in the catalogs because at first glance, I'm thinking, what am I drawn to? And there's like specific things I'm looking for. But this has really so many possibilities, and I really, really like that. And what she wrote inside is, "Hi, Julie. So nice to make another Buckeye friend and crafter. Happy stamping. OHIO, Nancy Young." So Nancy, it's so nice to meet you this way. I love the card. Thank you so much. So that is show and tell. I really don't have like anything in the way of announcements and stuff like that through Stampin' Up. I want to go back and reflect on World Card Making Day last Saturday. So much fun. I look forward to doing things like that. You wouldn't believe it is so much fun for me. I had shown a alternative card to the Table Scraps card that I had demoed. And that card was inspired by a set of 4-patch pot holders that were then in a circle and they had rickrack around them. So that was my inspiration. But I showed an alternative card because I had a circle left over. And I made it into an easel card. And really, I was going off of the pumpkin and the crow card we did several weeks ago. If you remember in that live, I had a thought. Something came into my head about Christmas that I wanted to spin off of that card. Well, this circle was like the perfect, instead of doing the tiny little half-inch squares, I thought, here's my ornament. So I did that Cardinal Easel card, got a lot of requests for it. Please do it in a live. So how can I say no to anybody who, especially when there's so many asking for me to demo that Cardinal Easel card. So that's what we're going to do today. Last night, trying to go to sleep, a thought popped into my head on creating the Cardinal. So I wanted to show you. It's not a shortcut, but if you're like me, sometimes you can feel like you're all thumbs and you're dealing with cutting little pieces and then trying to put those pieces back together. When I thought of this in my head, it actually woke me up. I thought, this is a nice little step to demo so that it saves you on, you know, handling too many tiny little pieces and making it work. So, do you have and or use the Stitchery stamp set? I do not have that stamp set, but when I saw Sarah demo that, again, that's when the light bulbs started going off. I loved how she used the one Stitchery to create the lines on the front of the envelope so you could write the address. I thought that was genius. And again, it was like, oh my gosh, now I am looking at that set in a whole new light. I think that would be really great if you were maybe doing a crazy quilt pattern. And remember, in crazy quilts, they do all those fancy stitches, you know, to border all those seams. I thought, why didn't I think of that when I looked at this set? So many ideas came into my mind when I watched Sarah demo that step set. So it went on my list. My list just gets longer and longer and longer. There's no way I'm going to have it all, but it definitely went on the list. So we'll see if I get it. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we're going to get started on today's project. Bear with me. I just got to slide some things forward. When I'm talking to everybody, I don't like to be in your face, so I try to sit back and all that kind of stuff. I just got to find my settings here. There we go. It's October. It's a new month, so I have a new host code, and PNK makes me think right away of pink, so I put my host code in pink. Whew. It is humid in Ohio. It's humid up here, and I have the air on. So I think everybody can see everything okay. Let me check one more time. I am still without my laptop. Windows 11 just came out. Now it's a matter of finding time to go shopping for a new computer. Okay. So oh, I should introduce myself for anybody who is new. My name is Julie Heights. I live in Toledo, Ohio. I am the Chirpy card maker of quilts and more. Look at my beautiful little mug rug here. Thank you, Doris. I live in Toledo, Ohio, and I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator since 2019. World Card Making Day of 2020 kind of kicked off a year for me where I started doing Facebook Lives, and it has been so great. So many of you. I look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday mornings, and this little community I look forward to every day. I am constantly checking my phone, going over to the Quilt Cards and More private group to see what photos you're sharing of your cards, and I look forward just to hearing from everybody every day. So, for those who are new, welcome. So the card that And what is so funny is Beth Mills saw this card in the picture I showed of my desk being just total chaos. And I was thinking of keeping this card to myself for my Christmas cards this year. And Beth sees this card in off to the side of all this chaos. And I'm like, okay, cat's out of the bag. And that's okay, because I was dying to show it to you anyway. I was torn between keeping it to myself and sharing. So thank you, Beth, for that eagle eye and bringing it to light, because it got a lot of nice responses. So this is the easel card that was in the photo. And there's the easel. And this is one of the circles from the table scraps cards that I was making for World Card Making Day 2021. The Cardinal, I had shown the Cardinal when we made the pumpkin and the crow card. But now the Cardinal has a place to land and a home of its own. So that was the first one that I did. Last night I did another one. And what I did was I embossed this background. Here it's plain, very nice and clean and simple. And here I embossed with the brick embossing folder to tie in the brick that I have on this inside piece. When I made the first card, I didn't know if I could stamp on an embossed piece of cardstock, but you can. So then I was like, okay, I want the whole background embossed. So this is the card that I did last night. Just to show you, give you two different looks. You do not have to emboss the white that sits behind the ornament, but if you do, find something that gives you a little texture but does not compete with the pattern paper that you choose for your panels, okay? You don't want it being so busy that it takes focus off of your ornament, okay? Today's card that we're going to make together, I'm actually going with Garden Green and Real Red. These are Pear Pizzazz and Cherry Cobbler, which I love those two colors together. But I wanted to try a different combination, and we'll see how it looks in the end together. And keep in mind that you can, there goes my light. Hold on. I was really hoping it wasn't going to make this noise until, like, we were almost done. Okay. There, it's not humming quite so much. I just want to make sure I can get enough light on what we're doing. You know, sometimes it just seems like there's days where if it's not one thing, it's another, right? And it all wants to go at the same time, and you got to pick what you can do. Okay, so, like I said, we're going with a different color scheme. So this is Garden Green and Real Red. We'll see how this plays out. Make sure that we're in there. Okay, so I think the first thing that we're going to do is I want to show you how to do your 4-patch that creates the ornament. So this is a scrap piece of grid paper. You can use copy paper, just something that you can glue your squares down to. And I have 4 1.5-inch squares. And what I'm going to do is I am going to just glue them down onto, find a pattern that I like. I like to keep my tones across from each other. Like those tones are a little darker than these two here. So that is how I would glue them down. The grid paper, that helps me just stay straight. Those lines help me stay straight. If I wasn't the Chirpy card maker of Quilts and More, I seriously considered the wonky card maker of Quilts and More, because straight lines and me, although they're hard. So I am just gluing them down. What I'm focusing on is making sure that my intersection here in the middle, that everything is nice and straight, nice and flush, so that I don't have any gaps of the, I don't have any gaps in that you can see the grid paper laying underneath. Every time I do something like this, butting my edges together, I think of when I'm quilting, you know how you nestle in your seams when you're putting your pieces together. You can, when you iron all your seams one direction and then the next ones go in the other directions, and you nestle them up and they just like kind of click together. I always think of that every time I am butting my seams up to each other. Okay. So you just feel them click. They just nestle right in there really well together. And so I would let my glue dry underneath before running this. If you're running it through a die cutting machine, you want to let that glue dry. Those rollers will help push that glue out. If you're doing a punch, you probably still want to give it a little bit of time to dry, so when the metal is punching out that image, you don't have wet, soggy paper that could not give you a nice, crisp, punched piece. So, the magic of video, or magic of TV, is we're going to set that aside. And I'm going to show you that I used a circle from the layering circle dies, and this is what I'm left over when I die cut that circle out. Okay, now I don't like to waste things, so what I would do is I would find a little tiny punch that I could use in these areas to get maybe some embellishments, what I consider the embellishments. I have some of those. Here's what those little circles look like when you punch them out. And you could use these as embellishments on your pages. They may or may not ever get used, but I don't want to let anything go to waste. So that's what I do with the extra space. Now, if you chose to do a larger circle, then you may not have enough area left to punch something out. But if you do, why not just save those and use them somewhere else? Okay, so I punched my circle out, and I have already glued my circle onto the die cut scallop that I chose to use. This is mimicking the rickrack when I did the pot. You know, the pot holders were my inspiration, and they had rickrack. So I look at the scallop die or punch as reflecting that part of the inspiration. That is the rickrack. Okay, so there is your ornament. What I would like to do now, we're just going to set that aside, is let's put some of our layers of the card together. Okay, in the directions you had 2 pieces of cardstock that were 1 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then 2 pieces of designer series paper that were 1 by 4. So you can go ahead and you can put those layers together. You're leaving this nice little border around that you can see of the cardstock. So I already did that. And then I got ahead of myself last night when I was trying to have some of the steps done, just so that you weren't here all day with me, because I know everybody's got other things to do. I thought, well, let's see what all I can put together ahead of time. Kind of got ahead of myself on the back of my card. I went ahead and I stamped, this is the little stopper for the easel. So I stamped the Season's Greetings, and I used that from the Penguin Place stamp set. Please stop. Oh, this is so aggravating. Okay. So I used the Season's Greetings from that stamp set. I'm also going to use this little tiny, it looks like a little gift bag, but that's going to be the topper for our ornament. So these 2 things is what I used from this stamp set. And then what I did was I punched just a smaller, a little larger scalloped piece behind it. Give that little bit of rickrack look to it, so that I put together already. Here's where I got ahead of myself. And I didn't put a piece of design, have you cut a piece of designer series paper for the back of your card. But after I was looking at mine, I thought it still needed some more designer series paper, because when we're making quilt cards, we don't use that much. So I put a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of designer series paper on the back, and I put my button. And that's when I realized, you're getting ahead of yourself. You haven't even shown them how to cut the front of the card to make the easel. So I had to stop myself. So let me get my trimmer, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I was hoping that I explained it pretty well in the diagram that I shared, the photo. But I thought, you know what, just in case, let's show it in the live. So here I have my trimmer, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure in 1/4 inch and 1/4 from both sides, and we're only going to cut from the score line down. So what I like about this trimmer with Stampin' Up, it gives me 1.5 inches on the smaller side. So I can put my card in, and I can move it over to 1.25 inches. And then what I'm going to do is, this is the cutting blade. Your dark knob here has the cutting plate underneath it. And there's a little notch here on the side, a line. That tells you that the blade is sitting right in the middle underneath that line. So I'm going to line that line up with my score line. And then I've measured 1.25 inches, and I'm just going to cut down. Okay. Now I need 1.25 inches on this side. And I'm running out of room here on my table. So I'm going to find 1.25 inches. I'm going to close that guard. I'm going to bring my blade back up to the score line. And I'm going to cut down. So here I have my flaps. Now what I need to do is I need to put a score line halfway in this center panel that has been created since we cut these 2 smaller flaps on either side. So I'm going to just fold my flaps out of the way, and I'm going to put this back in my trimmer, because I'm going to use the scoring blade on my trimmer. And I need to find 2 1/8, because that's half of 4 1/4. And that's 4 1/4 is how wide the card is. And I am going to bring my scoring blade down. Don't use your cutting. Get that blade out of the way. And I am just going to score that. So, could you see? I'm going to stand up. See the score line right here? That is going to create, when you fold that, that gives you your easel. Okay? We're going to give that a crease. So here you have three, now you have your three flaps. We're going to open our card up, and I'm going to glue down the 4 by 5 1/4 inch insert. And I could have made this smaller because you're only going to see this part right here. But actually, having it this size gives the card some more stability. So I'm just going to leave it at 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to glue this down. It's really hard not having your laptop next to you to keep checking to see if you're in camera or not. And we're just going to glue that down in place. Okay? So now we're going to decorate our flaps. And these are where your 2 panels come in. And you're going to glue them down, leaving a small border. Come on, glue. And if you have a directional paper, make sure that you're putting it down in the right direction. I just love this easel card. Easel cards are my favorite. I think they add so much to your card. I love just having them sitting in front of you, and they're not always like falling over like a card that stands up like the traditional card. I love them. I love them because if you want to put someone's photo on the easel part, so that it's just like a frame. Just like a frame. And I just love easel cards. So there we have our panels. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on the back of these panels, and we're going to glue them down. And you'll really feel that having that extra layer of this insert in there gives it a nice thickness and makes them really stable. Just fold it down, give it a press. So our easel card is coming along. Now if your easel wants to keep popping up like this, you just want to give those creases another good, crisp crease there. And it'll help them stay down. As soon as we started adding weight to this flap, that is going to help hold it down too. And that weight is going to come from the layer that we're going to glue on there. So let's move on to that. So here is our... I believe this is 2 and... This is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And then you're going to want to bring in your layer that fits just inside of that. And that would be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. But what I want to do before I glue this to here, I want to stamp the top to my ornament. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my ornament, and I need to put it down just so I can see where I want that top to fall. And then I've got my little bag there that's going to be the top of my ornament. And I'm using Early Espresso ink. And then I'm going to bring this towards me, everyone, just so that I can not get too wonky. I'm going to find the center. I'm just going to press that down. And see, you can stamp on an embossed image. That made me so happy. And I got to be really careful with this Early Espresso because this is one color that I wear a lot. For some reason, I always flip my Early Espresso, Rich Razzleberry, and Cherry Cobbler ink pads for whatever reason. I think it's in my head so much that I'm going to wear the ink that it makes me wear the ink. But we got through that one without any catastrophe. So now let's go ahead and glue this layer down to our background layer. Again, you just want to see a nice thin little border. And then what we can do is we need to draw the line, our string, our ornament wire, so to speak. So I'm just going to keep with a dark marker here, and I'm just going to draw my line so it's hanging from a branch or from wherever. And then I am going to glue down my ornament. No right or wrong way to this. My lines are going in a crisscross, but that has absolutely nothing to do with if it's right or wrong. I'm looking at where my designer series paper, the patterns fall, and I wanted those berries in this square to be over here. So that's all the thought process there is to that. Okay, so there we have, this we'll end up gluing this to just this bottom portion of the easel. But before we go on, let's move on to our cardinal, okay? What did I use to make the cardinal? Well, I took my medium daisy punch and I punched it in, I used Real Red and punched my daisy. I need 4 of these petals. The first time I did it, I cut each petal out. My thought process laying in bed last night was, I'm just going to cut this in half. And then I'm going to cut it in half again. So that I have 2 pieces that look like this. And instead of cutting them apart, if we just fold them over onto itself, look how easy that is. Now you're still going to want to probably take a little tiny bit of glue, just a tiny, just enough tack that it'll hold this in place. But there's the wings. And then we're going to fold this one over. And this will become the tail feathers. This is where I always feel like I'm all thumbs when I've got so many little pieces going on. So just by folding this over, I thought it helped me a lot. So here we have our tail and we have our wings. You might like to do it the other way, but I just thought that kind of saved some fumbling if you're like me. Now, these ends here, let me stand up. This is hard to see sitting down. So the ends right here, I want to round my wings off, but this doesn't matter when I go to tuck this inside the cardinal's body. So on one of these, I just want to round off, make sure I had some glue there. We're going to see if I got enough glue, because once I trim them, I still want them to be together. Let's just kind of round that off. I need to sit down to do this. Just rounding it off a little bit. Okay. It's not going to be super noticeable on your cardinal. So here, that part will be my wing. To make the cardinal, the Chirpy Doodle Cardinal. Oh, here's something else I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. When I was reading back through the comments from my demo for World Card Making Day, there was the cutest remark from Sue that said, "Chirp, chirp." And I just thought that was so cute, because instead of like a whoop, whoop, I thought a chirp, chirp. It struck me as so cute. So I wanted to mention that. So here we have a 1-inch circle. I want to fold this, but I don't want to fold it in half, because I want a belly to show. And so wherever the paper naturally wants to bend, I usually go with that. And then I just crease it. So do you see how, can you see how it's, oh boy, trying to find the right angle. It's not exactly in half. You can see that there is a belly, and maybe this is another shadow of giving you some more curves, okay? And we're going to give that a crease. Okay. So the tail feathers, remember I said it doesn't matter what this end looks like here, because it's going to get tucked in to that fold. So you just want to use a glue dot or some liquid glue, and you just want to tuck that in there just to hide that end. And just hold it. And so here we have our cardinal and its tail feathers. Now another thing that I want to do, I don't want this to keep flapping open like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a mini dimensional. I just happen to have my black ones here. And on the smaller flap, I'm going to put that dimensional down, and then take the backing off, fold it back over, and yes, it'll give it the 2D look, but it's not going to flap wide open, okay? So just use like a mini dimensional there. I'm not going to put my wings on just yet. Let's make the beak and the cardinal's crown. And all that is simply cutting like a corner off, kind of like a half square triangle, but a little bit more like maybe a right side triangle, because you want that crown to go up into that slant, have that slant. So just going to cut it off, something that looks like this. That'll be the crown. So there's the crown. And then for the beak, I want like a half square triangle. I'm just cutting corners off of my cardstock. Let's see. Stand up. Yeah, I'm just cutting the corners off of my cardstock. And we can trim down the pieces as needed. So there is the beak. So those scraps can be put aside. Now here again, you can use glue dots or you can use liquid glue. What I want to do is I want to just glue the crown to the back, and I am coming all the way out here to the edge. Okay, so that'll make, oh Lord have mercy, that'll make the crown. And this is really fussy stuff. I apologize, but the cuteness makes it so worth it. So we're just going to put some glue down. Put that crown on the back. And just hold it. Give that glue time to grab. I'm just taking my fingernail and getting some of the excess glue off. So there's our crown. And then what we need to do is add the beak. And again, we're just gluing that to the back of our cardinal. Just, if you've got any orange that sticks out that shouldn't be, you can just go in and trim that off with your scissors. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue back here. And a pair of tweezers would really help you, except I'm not good with tweezers. They actually make me feel like they're in my way more than just what I already got going on. So I'm gluing the beak down to the back and just pressing that. So now can you see the cardinal? What it should look like? Put it on the white. So there's our cardinal. Oh, Michaeline. Getting your exercise with this card. I like your positive spin. Okay, so what else is our cardinal missing? Well, cardinals all have a black mask. So I'm going to bring in a black marker. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a triangle here on the red. And I'm just going to draw in a mask. And it's basically just a triangle. That looks something like this. Okay, so you're just drawing a little triangle, half square triangle, on your cardstock. We need an eye. Well, what I did was I took a black Sharpie and I colored in one of the basic pearls, the embellishments. And I am just going to put my eye right in the middle of that mask that we just drew on. Like that. Can you see the eye? There you go. So there's the eye to our cardinal. And now we can glue on those wings. And you can position those wings however you want. I want them kind of coming up on to its back, like that. Kind of makes it look like he's fluttering a little bit. Now, if you wanted to make a pair of cardinals, you would make the female in probably something like, what's this one? Soft suede. Make your female cardinal in soft suede because she's a lighter brown. And you would know what she is with her crown and that orange beak. But you could make a pair of cardinals. So here we have our cardinal. What do you think? Cute, huh? Okay. So let's go back. We're almost done. We're almost done with the card. I'm going to take our panel. And what I want to do is I want to put some glue, not all the way to the ends because we have to leave a border. I want to put some glue, and I don't want it right up to the edge because this glue is going to move around underneath the cardstock. So right about there. And then on the bottom of our panel here, I want to do the same. Now I am going to flip this back open so that I don't get any glue on the inside. And just going to put that on there. See how you can see just the little tiny green border? And I'm just going to press that then. I'm going to flip it over to make sure there's no glue coming from the back side. There's our easel. And then the stopper, you decide, do you want your ornament really standing up straight? Do you want it on a slant, a little bit of a slope? That's going to determine where you put your stopper. I like mine to be not standing straight up, but I like to put my stopper up a little bit higher. I'm going to add some greenery behind my stopper. So I had punched out a whole bunch of these little sprigs from this is the border, the punch that goes with the In Symmetry bundle. I love this. So that's what I used to get my little pieces of greenery. And I'm going to take 2 pieces and I'm going to determine where I want this standing up. And I want these little sprigs to be underneath my stopper. So I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to glue these 2 down, kind of, you know, like that. So they're just tucked behind the stopper. There's that one. There's that one. Well, it was there. It says, I want to stay on your finger. And I like that they raise up, so I don't have glue all the way down, but you could put glue underneath those petals. And then to pop my stopper up, I'm going to use a dimensional on the back. Take that paper off. And I'm going to put my stopper right there. So that it holds my card like this. Okay, there's still room up here that you could sign your name, or you could even put a piece of basic white right here and sign your Christmas card that way too. And you could also decorate down here if you wanted to. But let's go back to our front. I'm going to add a couple of sprigs so it looks like my ornament is hanging from some type of greenery. Okay? You can put as much thought into this as you want. And we're just going to make this a lighter sprig, just to bring in a different shade of green. If you wanted to, you could probably maybe put a bow or punch out some little red dots, and let's say maybe this was some holly or something, or not holly, but mistletoe. But you can do whatever you want there. Now we're going to bring in our cardinal. Oh wait, no, we're not. If you look at my cards, I didn't want the cardinal just floating in the middle of the ornament. I didn't want just floating in the middle. So I took some of those sprigs and I created a little cluster here. And I've got them on a glue dot. And we're just going to put those down onto our ornament, like that. And now we can you can use a glue dot or whatever you want. I'm just going to put the liquid glue. And we are going to nest our little cardinal on top of those pieces of greenery. And you can get inside here with like your bone folder and just go around there and help push those cardstock pieces together and let that glue grasp your cardstock. So just gently go in and just keep rubbing. Make sure that glue has taken hold, especially since you've got some layers underneath there. Okay? And I think the only thing that it needs now is some bling. So I'm going to bring in my little red rhinestones. And if you don't have any red rhinestones, but you've got the clear ones, and you've got a red alcohol marker, then you can go ahead and color those plain ones and make them red. And then we're just going to put 3 of them. My cardinal's moving. I think I need to put more glue down. And we're just going to put our rhinestones down. And there is your cardinal ornament easel card. I hope that you enjoyed this little demo. I hope it lived up to your expectations since you wanted to see this done. And once you're done making your cards, if you would post pictures of them over in the private group, Quilt Cards and More. If you're not a member, just request to join and I can get you in. And then that way we can see everybody's cardinal ornaments, and you know, if you've done something different, we can get inspired by your creation, something that we may not have thought about. So there it is. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this Thursday. I will go back through the comments and I will draw a winner and I will send you a cardinal ornament card. So thank you so much and have a good day, and I will talk with you later.